This is the story of Gordon Moore, a quiet, unassuming chemist who made a single prediction that changed the entire direction of technology. A man who co-founded Intel, but even before that, shaped the expectations of the digital age. In 1965, Moore sat down to write a short article for Electronics magazine. In it, he made a claim that seemed bold at the time, almost reckless. The number of transistors that could fit on a chip was doubling every year and a half, and he believed this trend would continue for at least a decade. That was it. No dramatic speech, no press conference, just a graph, a prediction, and a vision. But this vision became known as Moore's Law, and for more than 50 years, it became the guiding light for one of the fastest technological revolutions in human history. To appreciate Moore's genius, we need to step back into the late 1950s. In 1959, engineers developed the first practical planar transistor, a tiny switch that could turn electrical current on or off. It was built on a slice of silicon, an abundant element found in sand. At first, it was just one transistor, a microscopic curiosity. But the transistor wasn't just another invention, it was a foundation. A transistor is to electronics what a brick is to architecture. You can build anything with enough of them. Radios, computers, satellites, all depended on these switches. Moore noticed something curious. Every year, engineers were finding clever ways to make transistors smaller, and as they shrank, they became cheaper, faster, and more efficient. That meant you could pack more into the same space. It was exponential growth, the kind of pattern usually reserved for population explosions or chain reactions. Moore didn't just observe it, he put numbers to it. Transistor counts would double every 18 months. Later, he adjusted it to 2 years, still exponential, still relentless. And remarkably, it turned out to be true. Think of it this way. If car speed followed the same trajectory as transistors, then a family sedan that drove 60 miles per hour in 1970 would be zipping past the speed of light today. But cars didn't. Planes didn't. Food didn't change that much either. McDonald's still sells fries and burgers. Technology, on the other hand, raced forward like a rocket. In 1969, NASA's Apollo guidance computer took astronauts to the moon with a processing power of about 15,000 calculations per second. That was cutting edge. But by the 1980s, a toy, the Nintendo Entertainment System, outperformed it. By the 2000s, an ordinary laptop crushed both. Today, the iPhone 14 Pro has around 16 billion transistors, 16 billion, inside something smaller than your palm. To picture it, imagine cramming the population of Earth not once but twice into a single chip the size of a fingernail. This doubling didn't just make devices faster, it made them cheaper, smaller, and accessible to the masses. Room-sized computers became desktops, then laptops, then smartphones. Each leap made new industries possible. Video games, the internet, cloud computing, streaming, artificial intelligence. Moore's Law wasn't just a prediction, it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Here's the fascinating part. Moore's Law wasn't a law of physics. It wasn't written into the universe like gravity or thermodynamics. It was, at best, an observation, at worst, a guess. Yet, engineers treated it like destiny. Companies organized roadmaps around it. Investors poured money assuming it would hold. Researchers pushed themselves to shrink transistors year after year. Some said Moore's Law was proof of nature's generosity. Others argued it was sheer human willpower. Either way, the results were undeniable. Every 2 years, computers got better, cheaper, and more powerful. But let's pause. What is a transistor, really? At its heart, it's a tiny electronic switch. Computers run on binary, zeros and ones. A transistor decides which number appears. When current flows, that's a 1. When it doesn't, that's a 0. The secret lies in silicon's chemistry. Silicon atoms form neat bonds, but by adding other elements, phosphorus with its extra electron, or boron with its missing electron, you can create regions that either give or take charge. Where these regions meet, a barrier forms. On its own, the barrier blocks current. That's 0. Apply a little voltage and the barrier disappears. Electrons rush through, that's 1. This on-off dance is the rhythm of the digital world. Multiply it billions of times, and you get the intelligence of a smartphone, a laptop, or a supercomputer. For decades, shrinking transistors worked perfectly. Smaller switches meant faster chips. But physics has limits. Today, the smallest transistors are about 2 nanometers wide. That's just 10 silicon atoms. You're not engineering anymore. You're playing at the edge of nature. And at this atomic scale, the rules of classical physics begin to crumble. Enter quantum tunneling. In classical physics, electrons shouldn't cross barriers they don't have energy to overcome. But quantum mechanics sees electrons not just as particles, but as waves of probability. Sometimes part of that wave sneaks through a barrier. The electron tunnels to the other side, even when it shouldn't. That means a transistor that's supposed to be off might suddenly turn on. A 0 flips to a 1. Multiply that chaos by billions of transistors, and your computer becomes a glitchy mess. This is the cruel irony. Moore's law, the law that said everything would go right, eventually meets Murphy's law, where everything that can go wrong will. By the 2010s, the cracks were showing. Chips still improved, but gains slowed. The cost of building advanced fabs skyrocketed into the tens of billions. Cooling became a nightmare. Power efficiency hit limits. For the first time, engineers whispered what once seemed unthinkable: Moore's law is dying. And in a sense it is. The exponential doubling that held for half a century can no longer continue in the same way. But this doesn't mean innovation is over. Far from it. When one road ends, human curiosity builds another. Engineers are already exploring new frontiers. 3D stacking. Instead of cramming transistors flat on a surface, chips now layer them vertically, like skyscrapers instead of houses. New materials. Graphene and carbon nanotubes promise faster speeds and cooler operation than silicon. Specialized chips, GPUs, TPUs, and neuromorphic processors are designed for specific tasks like AI or brain-like computing. Quantum computing, the most radical of all. Qubits don't just represent 0 or 1, they can be both at once. This strange superposition allows quantum machines to solve certain problems unimaginably faster than classical computers. If Moore's law fueled the digital revolution, quantum computing might fuel the next one. Problems that would take current supercomputers longer than the age of the universe to solve might fall in minutes. Look around you. Smartphones, laptops, cloud services, AI assistants, satellites. None of these would exist without the relentless doubling of transistors. Moore's law gave humanity the internet, GPS, medical imaging, climate simulations, social media, online education, and even the camera you're using right now. But perhaps its greatest gift wasn't the technology itself, but the mindset it inspired, the belief that progress is inevitable, that the future will always be faster, smaller, and smarter. Even as the law fades, that hunger for progress remains. Moore's law wasn't truly a law, it was a prophecy, one that engineers made real for 50 years. Now, physics has placed limits, but humanity is not done. We'll chase new architectures, new materials, new ways of thinking. The transistor age may slow, but innovation does not. As Gordon Moore himself once said, if everything you try works, you're not trying hard enough. Moore's law may die, but the human drive to push beyond limits, that will never end.